Hi there, welcome back to the channel and thanks for joining me. Well, today I want to talk about Pearl Harbour. It's the anniversary of Pearl Harbour this week, and I want to talk about Pearl Harbour movies, one in particular, and also some very interesting airplanes. We'll come to that in a minute. So first of all, movies. If you want to see a definitive movie that shows the history sort of chronologically about the attack on Pearl Harbour, which of course brought the United States into World War II, because basically it was an active war and they declared war on Japan and then Germany as well. In fact, that's not correct, is it? It was actually Hitler that declared war on the United States the day after Pearl Harbour. Probably the stupidest thing he ever did, among many, but certainly the craziest strategically big mistake. But anyway, so in terms of movies, if you want to see the definitive movie that tells you the story, you need to see the movie Tora, 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 which I think was made about 1966 or thereabouts. And this is quite a big budget movie at the time. It was $25 million budget. Since then, more to the present day, there's been, well, nearly 18 years ago, but there was the Pearl Harbour movie, of course, with Ben Affleck and Kate Beckinsale and Josh Hartnett, which I've got very mixed feelings about that film, because for me it's like a romantic, rather boring story for an hour, and then it's got this dramatic and very, very impressive attack on Pearl Harbour, which is done beautifully. The CGI in it is really excellent, especially for the time, 2002, 2003. It's beautiful, seamless. It's CGI that the sort that costs a lot of money and doesn't look like CGI, so it's really realistic. And then there's this sort of last hour where they do the Doolittle raid, and that's a little bit stupid as well, really. And it doesn't sort of ring true, and it's all a bit too Hollywood. But if you watch the hour in the middle, it's a really good film. Now that film was very expensive to make, and that was, let's say, nearly 20 years ago, and that was 140 million US dollars. So a very expensive big budget blockbuster, absolutely crazy numbers. The film I'm going to talk about, though, in which the models are pertinent, is a film called The Final Countdown. And this film was made by a guy called Lloyd Kaufman in 1980, and it's basically a very interesting and unusual story where, without giving any plot spoilers away, basically it's about a modern US aircraft carrier, the USS Nimitz, and a US government efficiency expert is sent aboard for a few days a week, to study the way that the Navy operates the carrier, and he's employed by a very sort of dark, mysterious company who do work for the US Navy Department and the Navy itself, a company called Tideman Industries, and they built the aircraft carrier. So he's really there to make suggestions about any efficiencies or things he finds that are obviously perhaps not the best practices. And he gets taken from Pearl Harbour, and he gets taken out and put aboard the vessel. And as soon as this happens, things start to go wrong. And they basically encounter a very unusual storm out at sea, which sort of envelops the aircraft carrier, and basically causes a lot of problems. It's almost like a catastrophic event. Nearly all survive. I think everybody survives, but a lot of equipment gets damaged, and they come out the other side of this storm, not realising that. Gradually, they start to realise, and they try to communicate with the outside world, that they have in fact passed through a portal in time, and they've actually been transported back to the year 1941. Today, basically. So, the 6th of December 1941, the day before the attack on Pearl Harbour. Now, of course, this is the classic sort of paradox of time story where, it's a bit like Back to the Future, where you can alter the future by doing things, having gone back in time, and therefore have a major impact on world history. And this comes to pass. Anyway, I won't get into too much of the detail of the story because then it would spoil it for people, and I would spoil it very easily. I will just say that it got mixed reviews, this film. I thoroughly enjoyed it just because I thought it was visually very spectacular in terms of there's a lot of Navy hardware, aircraft, etc. that you get to see. And it's done with real aplomb, and the US Navy Department and the Defence Department were obviously big partners in helping the film to be realised in the way that it was. And it was actually used as a great sort of recruiting advert, if you like, for the US Navy, and I'm sure that the year after, I think they had no problem in getting people to join the Navy. Anyway, there's key features that are really memorable in this film, and I say I don't want to spoil it by going into too much detail, but there's an encounter with the F-14 Grumman F-14A Tomcats, and it's exactly, we've got here we're going to have a little bit of another one of my reviews where we do a little Matchbox one from 1975, and then we look at the very latest from Tamiya. I'm going to go through that quite quickly because otherwise we'll be here forever. But it's very pertinent because the one that's depicted in the Tamiya artwork here, which I'm going to zoom you in on, is the actual aircraft from the Nimitz that features in the film. And it's the same squadron that's Nimitz based, with the skull and crossbones on the tail. Jolly Rogers, they're called, and they are very much a big sort of, almost like a star of the film, the aircraft, for sure. Now in the background I've actually got some, we'll just let it run. There we go, there's the actual that's the poster from the original release of the cinematic print, and this was the original artwork that came with it. And what we have here, it stars Kirk Douglas, by the way. It's got Kirk Douglas, it's got James Quarantino, and Martin Sheen is the up-and-coming star that's in it, and also Catherine Ross. They're the main protagonists in this movie, and they all give absolutely brilliant performances. And they all sort of did it for not a lot of money. I think they all enjoyed the idea of the project, thought it sounded like a great script, had great potential. And this film cost $12.5 million, which is nothing, absolutely peanuts compared to what you'd expect. So it actually, and it punched above its weight. It delivered about $17 million in gross in the box office. So it made a profit, so it was a success, But it was criticised, the film, because there's a feeling amongst, when you watch it, and again I don't want to give it away, but there's a feeling that it sort of there's a bit of unfinished business toward the end of the movie, and people felt a little bit unsatisfied by the way that it concludes, and I won't say why, but you need to see it yourself. But I tell you, you'll enjoy this. If you are interested in the Tomcat and you like US Navy aircraft and want to see aircraft carrier operations, you've got to see this film. Everybody, thinks about Top Gun, the Top Gun movie with Tom Cruise, when you think about the Tomcat. I don't. I think about this film. I'm going to let this just a little bit of it run in the background. I won't have the sound on because it'd be too confusing and irrelevant. But the visuals will, I think, speak for themselves. So there's an encounter in the film where, because they've gone back in time, there's a couple of squadrons of Japanese Imperial Navy have got their Zero fighters marauding around looking for any targets that might alert the Americans to their imminent presence in the area, and you can actually see it starting there in the background. So they're looking for anyone that could alert the Americans that their carrier fleets are on the way and in the vicinity. And then there's some action sequences where, they basically start shooting up vessels they see, and in this case it's an American senator out on a pleasure trip from Hawaii, and as you can see, his vessel gets wiped out. And then the Tomcats are in the background, and they're just they've been sent to intercept these radar contacts, and there is of course a confrontation, as you will see in a second. But the visuals, the photography and the action sequence, the way they were filmed, I'm not going to put the sound on for obvious reasons, I don't want to get into trouble, but the way this is done and the interaction between these aircraft is absolutely stunning and really enjoyable to watch, and it makes you think, what if, how would it be today if aircraft from World War II were confronted by the latest technology? And this kind of answers the question. And you get to see that there's only going to be one outcome, isn't there, really? And that's the paradox in the movie about, should we change history when we have the choice to do that and make such a big change in history, and what would the repercussions possibly be from that? But anyway, I don't want to dwell on that too much. I'm going to let that play in the background, and in the meantime I'm going to talk about the two kits. So I've actually got a couple of Matchbox ones here showing off. That's actually sealed, so that's in nice mint condition, so I thought I'd put that up there for you to see. But I'm going to have a quick look at this, and I'm sure you'll catch in the background what's going on. So, a typical Matchbox, beautiful artwork, and you know, and then we got the Zeros getting buzzed, just a wake from these guys. And that was actually real. I've just been reading that apparently when they made the movie, this wasn't put on. The wake from the two jets passing the old vintage Zeros was so violent that one of the pilots had his goggles tore off, and the other one, I think, dropped the camera, and also lost control of the aircraft. He actually pulled the yoke out of his hand, and he had to fight to get the yoke back and get it back under control. So there's a lot of aerodynamic forces going on if a big jet with that sort of power gets that close to an old warbird, you know. And you can see here that they're having a little bit of fun with them. Yeah, we've got no sound, we'll keep the sound off. But there's some astonishing footage. I mean, the way the Tomcat's got this incredible manoeuvrability and it's got the wings forward, it gives it great air superiority for dogfighting, which is exactly what it's doing here. And obviously performing in a way that it wasn't really designed to, having to go very, very slow against an enemy that wouldn't be anticipated at this speed. I mean, it's designed to shoot down Russian MiGs, you know, it's not designed to fight it out with warbirds, but the way it performs and the noises it makes and you can hear the aerodynamic rush, absolutely amazing. Anyway, let's have a look at the kit. I know what you're doing, you're all watching the movie in the background. Let's see if I can get this out of a proper look. Right, so I should just point out that we've got the typical thing with I'm just going to watch this. This is a particularly important moment where this Tomcat dives straight down to the deck and almost into the water. Absolutely astonishing. The sound is incredible. And then of course the Zeros, I should just point out, the Zeros get a little bit cheeky and decide they're just going to try and shoot the Tomcats down because they don't know what they are, of course. Plane they've never seen before. Take some pot shots at the American jet fighters, and then the Americans think, actually, this is quite dangerous, and they're actually heading straight for the aircraft carrier. And this is where it gets serious, and you'll see in the background they're about to get splashed. Anyway, the Matchbox kit. You get three options, it's the usual thing, you get three colours, three options. So you've got the USS San Francisco, nuclear powered carrier, or you've got the Enterprise, or you've got the John F. Kennedy. You get all the usual decals for the three, and we will just have a look at what we got in the box. Excuse me. I have to say, it's the typical thing with Matchbox. So difficult, isn't it? Now I want to watch the movie, you know. So, it's not COVID, don't worry. Weather's gone very cold, it's affecting my asthma. Well, he's just gone down, yeah. Well, okay, let's just watch this sequence for a second, yeah. So, the Zero's taking a bit of a pounding from the Tomcat's Gatling gun cannon. The other one trying to escape, absolutely no chance whatsoever. He's going to get the air-to-air missile, I'm afraid, and I don't think he's going to come out of it at all. Yeah, Sparrow. Game over. Splash 2, as they say. Right, enough of that. And then the Tomcats, they're just going to form up together. They're going to go on about their business, having dealt with the threat. Anyway, we don't want to let the shed. So, moving on. Let's have a look at this kit. We've got some nice instructions. Unfortunately, this one is one of these where it looks a little bit like they've been there to prompt print and done a photocopy of it. They were actually red originally, so I don't know if this is a reissue or what it is, but maybe they ran out of ink. As usual, you get a basic decal. You get the basic colour callouts. You get all the small parts actually explained how they should be painted, things like the missiles and the wheels and cockpit interiors, etc. And inside, I hope this comes up okay on the camera, because it's faint to be honest. But starts with the very basic cockpit. Little tub you build, then you build the nose. So you'll see echoes of this actually in the Tamiya kit later on, because it's such a big aircraft. It makes sense for it to be a sort of a unitary construction where you build it in sections. So you're starting really getting that nose together, getting the canopy on, although personally I wouldn't make the canopy transparent parts on until later. I think that would be foolish. You've got the option to have it open if you wish. You might want to put a little bit of weight in the nose. It doesn't mention it. They forget to mention it, but I would if I were you. Then you've got your swing wings, and they've got nice big thick cogs, gears to interlock and swing, and you can see that, yeah, you've got a pivot system, and it actually works quite well, this kit. I actually built it many years ago. It's a nice system. It swings nicely, the wings, no problem. So then you've got this middle section you're building up with the wings in it. Then you've got the rear section, which is like a clamshell which goes on the back there, section 6. Then you build the underside up, that comes on. Then you pop on your undercarriage, and then you bring it all together, all these separate units. So you've got your nose comes in, your tails go on, and you pop on your intakes and engine intakes and engine tailpipes as well. And then finally just popping on your undercarriage and your arrestor hook at the bottom there. Now there are some weapons which it doesn't show. Oh, it shows them separate. It's quite unusual for Matchbox. They've actually done it separate. I didn't notice that when I was talking about the painting. They've put the weapons at the end as a separate sort of like an addendum, because there wasn't room for them. So you've got your Phoenix missiles and you've got your Sparrow missiles. So very good. All good stuff. Now I've got some decals here. I'm not sure. Oh, they don't look too good, do they? Not sure these are going to be in fit order. They would actually work or not. Poor shape. I think we'd have to go aftermarket. It won't be a lot. Clearly that's a bit of damp's crept in somewhere there. It's not done that in my ownership, but it's past its best. But it's a shame because they're actually nice bright decals and nice, you know, typical exciting Tomcat USA stars and stripes colours. Anyway, what have we got? So start with the white parts, I think. Here we are, white sprue. And we have got the main underside for the centre and rear section is all one, whereas the upper is in 2 parts. So obviously you build that up, and again you'll see echoes of this where I think Tamiya looked at this and thought that's a good idea. We need to do something a little bit similar. Obviously they've improved on it in a massive way, and there's no comparison between the 2 kits. Say that up front. Anyway, then you got your intakes, and it's all nicely, quite nicely moulded. To be honest, it's all reasonably detailed. It's the usual Matchbox stuff. It's going to go together beautifully, I'm sure. Then we've got our canopy and our front windscreen here. There we are. Which is reasonably clear, fairly good condition considering it's 45 years old. That's not bad at all. Yeah, it's in great shape. No problem. Then we've got our black parts, which I hope will show up here. There we go. So we've got all your weapons, we've got all your Phoenixes, they're in 2 halves, and you've got 4 Sparrows, your pylons. These strange looking things here are the connecting pivots for the wing mechanism. And we've got the intakes for the fan blades for the engines, and then we've got tailpipes and the wheels and various doors, undercarriage parts, the seats, and just flip it over, we've got the cockpit tub there as well. Arrestor hook, various stabilisers, pylons, small parts, gear doors, etc. And true to form, not a bit of flash anywhere, beautiful. And then finally, this is the, I'm not sure what you call this colour, is it puce? It's kind of it's not quite grey, it's not quite brown, it's got a little hint of coffee, cappuccino I think I'd call it. And then you've got your actual wings here, so they're built in one piece, but it's an inner section and an outer section, as you can see. And it's quite robust, and as I recall, it does work well, the actual mechanism. Then you've got your nose section here in 3 parts, which builds up very nicely. Nose tip itself there. Then we've got the tailplanes, the vertical stabilisers and the tailplanes here. And that's again lovely sprue. There's no flash on it. It's flash on the sprue, there's no flash on the parts. It looks absolutely gorgeous, really. You just know it's going to go together. You do get this thing with some of the Matchbox moulding where you can get these rather odd blemishes within the plastic. It's not on the surface, that'll just vanish when you paint it. But it's a bit of a shame, you know, because the youngsters in the day would not paint them, me included, back in the mid-70s. So it's a little bit unfortunate you get that, but I say, if you paint it, it's just frankly going to disappear. But it's a lovely kit. It's big, it's chunky. The panel line detail's a bit soft, yeah, but even so, it's pretty accurate, and it looks like a lovely Tomcat when you built it up. So there we have it. That's the Matchbox F14A Tomcat. So let's move on from that, and let's move on to something that's absolute state of the art. And frankly, I think we're going to agree it's probably one of the best model kits that's ever been produced, ever. Do that side. Just pop that out of the way for you. Under there. So that's the lovely Matchbox Red Range. It's PK406. Comes with that fantastic artwork again, and very reminiscent of the Final Countdown movie in the similar sort of look to the way it's been portrayed. Very nice. It actually says here, Tomcats of Fighter Squadron VF-142 in circuit above the nuclear-powered attack carrier USS America prior to fly-on clearance to San Francisco, USA. On the side it has its three colours shown, exactly how the kit will appear if you decide not to paint it. On the other side is quite nice artwork actually, this rather fetching artwork showing almost like a painting of it, showing its wings swinging and the weapons stores that come with the kit. And there you have it. So, we'll move on. We'll pop that over there, go to the arm. Now then, let's get into something really special. No, not another Tomcat from Matchbox. How about the Tamiya? I'm going to move the iPad out of the way. Now then, I must be the last person to review this because I've had it for, well, 3 years, 4 years. It's obviously not a brand new kit. So it came out in, it tells me the year, I should tell you, I'm sure it does somewhere. Yeah, 2016, so it's 4 years ago. And most people have built this, and those of us that haven't got round to it kind of can't wait because nobody has a bad word to say about it. The only criticism of this kit, I'll tell you up front so we don't have to get bogged down with it, the only criticism is that it's not posable in terms of it's not got flaps and slats openable. And a lot of people were very unhappy about this because it meant that you couldn't pose it as if it was on the catapult, as you'll see in the Final Countdown movie. Now we'll come back to that at the end, by the way, and I'll show you some footage. But you can't pose it, so it's as if it's in flight at speed or on the ground at rest, because in both cases the flaps and slats don't stay out; they immediately retract. So it is a bit disappointing. I am a bit disappointed that Tamiya didn't think that should be an option. However, it more than makes up for it in all sorts of other ways, and everybody that's built it just raves about this model. It's considered by many people to be the best kit that's ever been manufactured because it goes together. People say that it falls together, you know, put some glue and paint in this box, give it a good shake, and at the end you've got the most incredible Tomcat. You know, it's that well engineered, it goes together with real finesse. Anyway, without further ado, let's see what we can see inside the box. So, its item number is 114, so it's 61114. Now I'm going to, for speed, although I've got this tape with Tamiya tape, I'm going to cut that just to get in quickly. But just before we do, let's have a look in here. Bring you nice and close for this. Let's have a look. So you can see we've got the options here. We've got multiple options. We've got an option of the Iranian Air Force, because they bought these. This is before the time of the Islamic Revolution, when the Shah of Iran, the royal family ran Iran and were very pro-USA and pro-Western Alliance. Of course that all changed in 79, 1980, just after they took delivery of these, unfortunately. Anyway, yeah, it says the Islamic Republic Air Force, 1980. Or you've got an option for the American bounty hunters from the USS Enterprise, or you've got the one on the front, which is, as I said, the Jolly Rogers with their skull and crossbones design from the USS Nimitz. You know, it's not alike. And there it is on the other side, in fact, which looks absolutely fantastic. I think that's the one I'd go for. Shows the missiles. You've got Sidewinder, Sparrow and Phoenix, and it also explains, you know, the movable swing wings, and explains the angles, etc. And also gives you some colour call outs there. So what we got, light grey, AS16, yeah, I don't think we'd use the AS option, but anyway, AS16, and then we've got matte white and a little bit of black. And I think that's it. So, without further ado, it needs no introduction. I've never done a review on this one, to my shame, but it's time we did. Now I better warn you, I've opened it before. So it's got Tamiya tape on all the bags to make it nice and swift to open. So if you see that, that's not the way it will appear if you buy it. It will have staples, I'm afraid, which I don't like, I have to be honest. I'm not a fan of their staple system at all. Please bear with me. I did rather a good job to make it as secure as possible. In? Yes? No, I've missed a couple. And the other side I haven't done yet. Right, we're in. Got the other. Oh, now you're in for a treat, I promise you. If you haven't seen this before, you just can't go wrong with this one. Some of the best modellers in the country have even said that, you know, beginners could assemble this. It's so well engineered, even though it's a big, advanced kit. It's just so nice. You can assemble it no problem, even if you're new to the hobby. So, I'm going to start with, I've got some extras for mine, which I'll just show very quickly. So we've got a mask set from Edward, which is just for the canopy. I've got the Edward seatbelt set. There we go. Little seatbelt set, which looks really nice. It's got the canopy pulls for the ejector seats, and we've also got the interior set from Edward as well, which my camera will eventually focus on. Thank you. And that's nice. You know, I think that's really going to lift the sort of 3D element of the cockpit tub, which it probably needs. Anyway, let's swiftly crack on. Right, so I don't know where to start really. I think we'll just go with the instructions and see what we got here. Hold on a second. Right, are we out? No, we're not out. There we go. Let's see. We have a lovely bag. Lots of goodies in it. Look at it. And in that bag we have the most beautiful, typical Tamiya colour call-outs, decals guide. Look at that, it's absolutely stunning, it really is. I mean, this is what makes Tamiya, frankly, in my view, the best manufacturer in the world. They just get these things right. It's glossy, it's clear, it's sharp. Beautiful rendition showing all the key colours and also some of your stenciling work where it should be. This is the Jolly Roger scheme, as you can see, with the skull and crossbones on the tail, so that's the USS Nimitz aircraft. And on the other side, the other two options, you get them all on the sheet. So we've got the USS Enterprise here with the Stars and Stripes style, and the colourings are very similar obviously. And then something very radically different, of course, as we mentioned, the Iranian Air Force, where unfortunately Americans have just sold the Iranians this technology, and then the regime changed forever, unfortunately. But anyway, looks quite interesting, and it's not often you would see a Tomcat in that scheme anywhere but in Iran, I think. Obviously perhaps a little bit similar when they repainted them for the Gulf, but not quite the same. Okay, instructions, which I'm going to go through, really rattle through these really quickly, because otherwise we will try not to make the video, you know, an hour and a half long, it's too long. Let's have a look. So we've got another bit of an info sheet here, where it gives you technical details how the wings swing, different variants, what the weapons loadouts are. It opens out like a 6-page A4 sheet. It's quite an impressive thing. All the different weapons loads out options are shown. It's all in Japanese on this side. On this side, same thing, all nicely in English. Explains about how the radar and the Phoenix and the Sidewinder weapons, how they work relative to each other, which is very interesting. Just give you a bit of a taste of this. Bear with me. So, need to come in a bit closer for this, I think. Yeah, so it shows how the radar picks up and how they select which weapon to use because of different ranges. So that's impressive. And as I said, you've got a clear choice of all the different loadouts, weapon loadouts. Very, very interesting. Yeah, it's just a shame they put the Japanese as the exterior. Anyway, instructions. Nice instruction booklet. Typical of the new style Tamiya. First of all, you build up your cockpit tub. Plenty of detail here. I mean, you don't really need the aftermarket, I don't think. I was perhaps gilding the lily a bit there. But it's just an option just to give you a bit more colour and perhaps a bit more relief from the plastic. So you build that up, put in your stick control, joystick there. Then you're building all the panels up. This is nice. Now this is what was interesting. This is the thing that one expected from that Italian Tornado, where you build up the panels with all these different pieces here that you've got there, with all the computers and controls and panels of switches, etc. Now you didn't get that in the Italian Tornado. It was just one great big pre-moulded section, and it was 32nd scale, so you wouldn't expect that at 32nd scale. They're doing it here at 1/48th, which proves the point really. You'd certainly expect that too. Anyway, sorry, bring you back in. So then we're on to this unitary construction where you build it in, sort of the concept is that you build it in separate modules. Modular construction is perhaps the right way to say it. So you're building up the module then that's got the underneath of the where the cockpit tub is. You're building up the nose wheel area, the wheel bay, and then you're bringing it all together with your nose section, both halves. Then you've got the top section with the canopy frame that goes on it, and then straight away it's got you building up the swing wings. Now these are screwed in and they've got very fine gearing, and again I'm told that this goes together like a dream, quite frankly. Lots of screws, so it's all really solid and robust. Then you've got your weapons choices and you have to decide what you're going to fit where, because that's going to affect what holes you need to drill, which you then need to do on the underside. And again, this is some beautiful plastic engineering going on. When you see the parts, you'll see what I mean. Then you're putting in working on the top section and the wheel bays, wheel wells. And then just like you saw with the Matchbox, you've got the same concept. They've copied the same concept from Matchbox, where you've got this front or rather central and rear section. The difference is that they have these stubs or spars onto which you actually mount the actual wings later. So you're not mounting the wings. They're not wings. They're actually wing spars that we're building, which is ingenious because it means that you can, not have the wings getting damaged, and you can paint them separately in a modular way and then introduce them right at the end of the build. Then we've got your engines and intakes, underneath intake covers going on. Then you're building up your underside of the nose, which is where the recess bays are, where the sidewinders or sparrows sit. Then you build your engines up, or engine pipes, jet pipes at the back. Then you build the actual wings. Now this is the bit that got criticised, I mentioned earlier, because there's no flaps, they're just fixed in flight position. They're not posable. It's a bit of a shame, but I think we'll let them off because they've come up with such other brilliant bits of engineering and ideas. It just works. I should have mentioned, by the way, with the jet pipes that we just skimped over a little bit there, you have got the choice of open or closed jet pipes afterburner going, which is where they squeeze shut. not completely, but much more restricted looking on the left, or on the right where they're fully open, as in flight. And you slide your new wings on, which again you can do right at the end if you want. You don't need to do that till the end of the build, which is brilliant because it gives you all sorts of options and flexibility for the way you go about it, and stops them getting damaged and scratched, etc. Building up your nose wheel and the leg, all going in under the nose, and your gear bay doors going in there, and then your main gear that goes in. I think it's weight on wheels, I'm not sure. And then you've got all your ancillary parts like your gear doors, your arrestor hook, and your tail planes going on at the back. And then you've got these pallets or pylons for your various missiles, for the Phoenix missiles, and your pylons for the sidewinders or the tanks. And then these pallets go on underneath. Various pylons going in as well, and then you're actually getting into the build of the weapons themselves. So you've started with Sparrow, then Sidewinder, then the Phoenix, and then your drop tanks if you want. And then it shows how these very, very impressive weapons go on underneath, all the different options you've got. Then your tailplanes are going on at the back, and then finally, this is very unusual, you then build the ejector seats and put the pilot in, which is normally the very first stage in most kits. So it's very unusual actually. Yeah, and there they go, almost right at the end of the build you put your pilots in. But that's quite a good it's a good thing because it means that they're not going to get damaged. And then you've got your consoles that go, and the coving that goes in front of them. Then you've got your ladder, crew ladders, pitot heads, sensors, and all these little parts that go on. You've got extended or retracted refueling probe, which is really cool. So they got that right, you know. And then you've got the canopy, which is tricky. You've got to mask it, obviously. It does come with a masking kit, but they're not pre-cut, so you just got to be a bit fine with your cutting with scissors or scalpel. That goes on. And that's kind of just coming to the final stage of the build. So you can have your canopy open or closed, you can prop it open. Then you've got these wing gloves, depending on whether it's open or shut. There's alternate gloves shown. And they go in, and that's the very final part of the build. And then it's just got all the guide for all your stencils all over the aircraft. Plenty of them, I think. So beware. Yeah, there's a lot of them, as you can see. Lots and lots and lots, top and bottom. And that's it. So, got to say that the instructions are very clear, typical Tamiya, great quality, and it looks very clever the way they've conceptualised the whole build. So let's look at the parts without further ado. And as I said, I'll actually oh, look at this one. I haven't opened, so I won't open this one. Did I open these? Did I not open them? No, I didn't. So I'll tell you what, I'm not sure I'm going to. They are sealed. I think I'm going to leave them. Yeah, they're actually sealed. I'm going to leave them sealed. I don't think we need to. Let's have a look now. So first of all, we've got the wings. Now remember, this is not a cheap kit. There's a kit that's retailing now at around about the £70 mark, maybe slightly more. I don't think it's helped by the exchange rate with Japan, but you can see we've got this wonderful geared system here where you can see all the quite fine gears, not like we saw in the Matchbox. Very, very fine gears for the mechanism to operate the swing wings where they gear together. Some very, very nice figuring, really great detail. Moulding looks absolutely beautiful. You've got like a brace part. This is part of the construction of how it holds the actual mechanism here together, and it's braced like a clamshell effect. And then we've got the other side of the wing there. I mean, it looks gorgeous. It really does. Peachy. Then we've got this one. I think we can open this one. I think it's easy to open. Or is it? No, it isn't. Break the tape, but I don't think I will. I hope you'll forgive me for not opening it. I think it's quicker if I don't anyway. Try and keep the video not too long. So we've got our engine intakes covers. We've got some of the strakes and pylons. We've got the trunking for the actual intakes themselves, the engine. And no ejector pins on there on the inside, that's good news, which Tamiya are a bit naughty at sometimes. Then we've got these pallets we just talked about, where these are for the mounting of the Phoenix missiles. Then we've got our tail planes. It's like an outer and an inner shell. And then we've got the underside of the nose section, where the sparrows sit. Beautiful. And then it looks big. It's a big sprue. There's big parts here. So we've got the nose section here, and it looks beautifully sort of finely engraved, very detailed, very, very scale-like. Not too thick panel lines, not too thick, not too deep, not too fine. Looks right. These are these gloves for the wing. This is the rear section of the fuselage to the back here. Here and here is where your tail planes are going to go. That's the wing glove section. Optional different types of glove. And obviously that's the other side mirrored again. Clear parts. Yeah, these are all. I think these are factory sealed. I don't remember opening these. And another thing that's very good on the Tomcat, let's just have a close look at this one. To avoid the problem of having a nasty glue problem when you are going to produce the join for the windscreen, for example, or the canopy, it isn't just the canopy. You've got a section here, where my thumb is there, a section in front of the canopy of the nose, which you'll then paint the appropriate colour. Obviously you mask it all, but it means that you don't have this nasty join because it's all one piece. So there isn't a join between the glass and the normal plastic. That comes further up and can be nice and tight, shall we say. And you don't get this problem of having glue that's going to smear, or a nasty join, which is a common problem with canopies. Here, this is the main canopy itself. And you've got a nice frame around it. The only thing I would say that slightly disappoints me, you might just be able to catch, is there is a seam line down that canopy, right the way down its length. So you're going to have to get rid of that. That'll need to be removed, which can be fun. You need a knife and lots of sanding sticks and some polishing compound for that. Then we've got the weapons sprues. Here they are, lots and lots of them. Absolutely wonderful looking, really nice looking Phoenix missiles. I mean, they look like resin, they're that nice. You've got all the heads here for the Sparrow missiles. This looks cool. There's your Phoenix. And we've got the Sparrow bodies here. Camera's struggling again. Sparrows themselves. And then all the fins for the sparrows are out. All the fins here. Very nice. Then we've got the engine pipes, intakes and engine pipes. And it's nice that they put all these sort of together the way they've done it. It makes it easy to follow, so you can easily remember which sprue, which sprue's got your engine pipes on, which sprue's got your weapons on. Instead of mixing it all up, they've kept everything that are similar and located together on the aircraft together. That makes it easy to think about it. There's these afterburner on full throttle. Look at this. Just look at those. That way, you can see it a bit better. Those are really, really exquisitely done, got to say. Fantastic. Or you've got the fully open option there. And then you've got your afterburner ring inside the jet pipe here. And then the jet pipes themselves, or the back of them at least. They're here. And there's no flash here. This is like Matchbox, but way better. Beautiful. Then we come to another couple of big sprues that are identical. So it's got the tail planes on it, and it has the two identical sprues. So they have one tail plane on both sides of it on each, and you've got your wheels. They're not weight on wheels. I was wrong about that. It's a bit disappointing. So there's no flattened weight on wheels effect here. That's a bit of a shame. I thought that they had it. Something that's a bit miserable of them. They could have done that. Here's your pilot, which looks quite nice actually. Then you've got all your ejector seats here, including the sort of panelling and the moulding of the seat. You know, the cushioning of it is quite impressive. You've got your drop tanks here, and your pylons. And as I say, that's repeated all over again. Got the pilot's head there. If you can make that out. A bit closer for this. There we go. And the pilot figure there. Nice. Very, very good. Bring you up this one. Oh, that is a really big one. Now this is just purely the centre section and rear section on one piece on its own, and it's so well engineered. They've got all these support parts on the sprue that you have to cut everything off, because obviously that'll be very, very delicate, and you don't want to cut these parts off until you're ready to glue it all together. So it's much safer to keep this in its bag, frankly. But you know, it's got some fine detailing work here. There's some grills and grates and vents, which really look nice. And that is really, really good. Great detail. Superb workmanship. And there's ejector pins, but of course they're not in silly places. Absolutely fine. Then there's a big sprue here, a biggish one, which is all the way that they've actually thought through the sprue design is particularly excellent on this kit. So now we've got all that section that's the wheel bays and the landing gear. Just nothing else, just that. Bays, bay doors, landing gear and nothing else on one sprue. Very, very good. So it's easy to find it. Everything's together. Saves you a lot of time and stress hunting back and forth like you do in a lot of kits, you know, where they just mix them up for cost reasons, and that's why it's not a cheap kit. It's £70. There's a reason for that. The detailing here is pretty exquisite, it's got to be said. I mean, you know, some people have said it's a little bit on the soft side, but I think at this scale it's about right. It looks okay to me. Some beautiful intricate detailing and ribbing and grates and panel lines, hydraulics, and when you look at that the gear here, undercarriage legs, it's brilliant, absolutely awesome. Look at that, very, very nice. That just one more sprue to go. It's this one, and this is the cockpit, basically. Cockpit instruments. They have broken my sort of spell here, because they've got the arms of the pilot and navigator, and the rest of them, as you know, are on the other sprue. Don't know why they've done that, but you can see them here. Pair of arms. Anyway, yeah, there's some nice detail here. Sides of the cockpit, you can see all the instrumentation, the panels. Very, very nice. Lots and lots of detail. Whoops. There we go. Focus trouble for a minute there. Some nice detail there. Really, really clear, sharp, beautiful instrumentation. You can see all the individual buttons here. Absolutely incredible. And then the actual tub itself. And as I said, this is where, you know, really where the Italian Tornado falls down on things like the tub here. You know, here you insert all the panels and it gives it relief and a 3D look. Theirs was just all pre-moulded, and it just looked a bit like a 72nd scale kit, really, in that respect. Bit of a shortcoming. And that's it for the sprues. We've got a bag here of nuts and bolts and washers and screws. We finally have the mask set and the decal set, and yeah, I'm not going to get them. They're actually still sealed with the original Tamiya staple there, but we know what these are going to be like. They're going to be really nice, but you have to be a bit wary with Tamiya. They're quite thick, so you've got to really be sure you get them down securely, because sometimes over fine detail, when you want them to conform, they can be troublesome. But I've got to say, overall, the impression that it gives you is Rolls-Royce quality, really. It's faultless. It's got a concept. They've thought it through. You know it's going to go together beautifully. People that have made this have said, wow, so clever. Being able to put the wings on. Another thing that people have said, which is really music to my ears, they've claimed that you can actually build a lot of this kit without glue. It's so precise. The nose will go in without glue. Some of the undercarriage will go in without glue. Some of the weapons, the wings, you don't need to actually glue it. So if you're someone that gets the glue everywhere and has real trouble with keeping it under control, this is the kit for you, because a lot of it you won't need to bother with. There's a lot of parts here. The final assembly. I think one guy, maybe Spencer Pollard, I mentioned him before, but I think he said that even his tailplanes I don't think were glued, and his weapons, the fit is that precise, the engineering is that perfect. You don't need to actually glue it up. And when it's in your cabinet or whatever, if you're transporting it, actually, I was going to say, if you're not transporting it, why worry? But if you are transporting it, it makes it really great. You can take the nose off and you can take the tailplanes off. Remove your wings, and suddenly it's almost like a takedown, breakdown sort of design. It should be brilliant, really, absolutely fantastic. Anyway, I think in summary, from what I've seen and what I've heard of people that have built it, which is the real acid test, I've said before, it's something very special, very, very special. You will not be disappointed with this kit. Easily, most people that have built it, and they'll say that's the acid test. Everyone thinks it's probably the best kit that's ever been engineered. It just goes together that beautifully. It's absolutely stunning. Now, I've got to be very careful here. If you just bear with me 1 second, I've got to get this in right. And it has got to be done. And it's not easy. Come on, you can do it. There we go. There's a knack to it. You've just got to tube it slightly to get it in. So, there we go. So that's the Tamiya F14A Tomcat. They do, of course, do the D version as well, which came out, I think, a year ago or 18 months ago. So that's the one that a lot of people have gone for. But I'll just show you a little bit of that footage we talked about a little bit earlier. I think that when you see it, it's quite impressive. Look at that run. You can have a little look at this in the background. We're going to go, here we go. Yeah. What's not to like, really? It's a great film. I say I don't want to spoil what happens, but I strongly recommend you get this film. It's called The Final Countdown. You can buy it on eBay, or you can get it from any of the major sort of retailers, Amazon or whatever. It's very, very pertinent, as it's the 40th anniversary of the film coming out. It's the anniversary of Pearl Harbour tomorrow, and this is a very unusual take and a thought-provoking film that's also visually very spectacular. It just disappoints you because it leaves you wanting a bit more, and it doesn't quite satisfy. It's going somewhere and it doesn't quite get there at the end. But as I say, I don't want to spoil it by going into too much detail. If you love the Tomcat, and I'm just showing you two absolute wonderful kits, frankly, this really is the film for you. It definitely goes with the territory. Anyway, there we go. I hope you enjoyed the video. A little bit unusual. I wanted to talk about this film because I really enjoy it, and I'll be watching it again in the next 24 hours because it is the 40th anniversary. So I strongly recommend you get it. You will not be disappointed in the film or the kit, or even if you get an old Matchbox one, you get a nice one. Frankly, that's a nice little Tomcat, and if you're new to modelling, or you're coming back to it, or you don't feel very confident, get the Matchbox. There's still ones to be had on eBay. Fish around, see what you can find, and I think you'll have a really enjoyable build, especially if you get the film as well, and you can enjoy some real good fun recreating the scenes. Anyway, thanks for joining me. That's it from me. Hope to see you again in the not too distant future. I'm sure we'll have more videos coming up before too long. Please, if you enjoyed the video and thought it was interesting, please like, share and subscribe if you haven't already. And in the meantime, if I don't see you before, I wish you a very Merry Christmas and all the best. Stay safe, and hope to see you again in the very near future. Thanks a lot, and take care of yourselves. Bye for now.